This is the NTSB interview with Louis Berger, the one that's supposed to have done the peer review. Okay, does it require a 90% certification letter? Answer, yes. It requires this. However, the designer, this would be FIG, actually preferred that we submit directly for the 100%. We started actually with the 90% first for the foundation. And after this, they asked to submit only for the 100%. And that would be once they back and forth about the plans. But so FDOT required a 90% review, and they went about it a different way. But then when Crush thing a little bit further, he says, well, we started at 90% on the telephone, and back and forth. But so he's considering that. He backtracked a little bit. This is a doctorate in over there at FIG. I mean at Louis Berger Group. Let me back this up. Here's clarity. My role with the FIU project basically was to provide the peer review that's consistent of an independent design check of the plans, and verification that the design is in accordance with AASHTO and FDOT and LRFD. So they asked him about this, and I'm going to find it for you. He said he used a program on it, and they then asked him about the nodal areas. He dived around for a bit about the nodal areas. Then he said, well, it was too complicated. My computer program can't do that. So I had to do the nodal areas manually myself. So this bridge is only a nodal area. Then they asked him further about, did he run the computer program on stages of this, or was it the complete bridge only? It was the completed bridge only. They did not do a test, a peer review per stages. So that was never reviewed. What we see, number one, was never reviewed. It was reviewed as an entire completed structure. So just so you know, Mr. Gage, yes, Robert Gage, counsel for Dr. Sharma. And I'll ask Dr. Sharma to identify himself. That's his name, Sharma. So look at this up here. It says, so let me ask you the question this way. They want to know about his company. And Dr. Sharma, who are you currently employed with? Answer this question. Is it related to the investigation? Because I don't want to get my company involved in this. Okay. Mr. Gage, that's the attorney, right, for Dr. Sharma. I think that's probably by Mr. Bragg. Okay, question. Let me ask you the question this way. Are you independently involved with this, with a bridge project, with the FIU bridge project? And he says, answer, I didn't understand the question. Question, are you involved with the project as an employee of your own company? So, it appears that Dr. Sharma moved on and made his own company. He doesn't want that out, though, that he has his own company now. This is what this looks like right here. And so he wants to know, is he an employee of a company or privately? I was involved in the project when I was an employee by Louis Berger. Okay, answer by Louis Berger. Question rather. And yes. And are you currently an employee of Louis Berger? Answer no. Okay, when did you end the employment? End of June 2017. When did you begin employment with Louis Berger? 2014. Reason for leaving? I did not leave the company, but the company laid me off. Okay, so the company laid you off, and yes. Yeah, and answer yes. Did they provide you with an explanation of why they laid you off? Answer, they did not provide an exact explanation, but it was not basically related to the issue that we are discussing today. Okay, so you're saying that I'm just trying to paraphrase. You're saying that they laid you off for a reason that was not related to the FIU Bridge project. Answer, yes, I confirm it was for another reason. It was not related to the FIU project. Okay, answered August 2016. I'm going to show you something now. Let me speed up. So there's Dan Welsh asking a question and telling him to speak up. Basically, the steps consisted first in order to check the design to make sure the design is okay. Basically, to consideration that we are going to peer review. I had to develop a model for the bridge, a simple model. I would say a simple model for the bridge. Simple but sufficient enough to determine the performance of the bridge under different kinds of loads and load combinations. So you use a stick. You showed me my little foam models. And this model basically was developed with software, okay? And a program called ADINA. A, David, Nina, Nancy, is one of the most reliable finite element programs. All right, and Caltrans usually recommends ADINA for their projects in California. And I personally have used ADINA in previous projects, like in the design, for example, of the Tacoma. Okay, so he's saying that. The computer program was used actually to develop the demand of the structure due to different loads, different load combinations that are consistent with the AASHTO. Remember, this computer program was for the whole bridge, not for phase one, not for the one thing. Okay, basically, ADINA is you have to write actually a script with a program. The program takes it and develops a model. And after that, you can run the analysis and look at the results. Thank you, Dr. Sharma. Yeah. Okay. Check the foundations. I check the pier bench of the substructure. I check the substructure of the pilings as a substructure, because these are basically a critical element. It says, what components of the bridge did you independently review? And he says that. And I checked all the diagonals of the superstructure, because these are also a very critical element. Regarding the deck and the canopy, I went through them quickly by checking the plan and by looking into the values that I obtained from the computer program. Thank you. You said that you checked the diagonals. Did you check the nodes as well? Answer, I couldn't get the question. Can you repeat it again? Dr. Schemmer, you indicated you checked all the diagonals. Did you check the node members as well? The node members, he answers back. Correct. Answers again. When you say the node members, what do you mean by the node members? Question. What I mean is the node area where for instance, a diagonal would tie into the canopy or the diagonal would tie into the deck. Did you check those areas as well? Answer. My model actually wouldn't check that. Couldn't handle that. Wouldn't handle that. My model actually wouldn't handle this. I handled basically the forces and the members themselves, actually. Question. Okay, so your program analysis analyzed the forces and the members themselves, and not particularly the node area in which it ties into the canopy of the deck. Answer. Yes, doing this requires much more time and budget, which is going to exceed the budget and time agreed about with the designer. In the beginning, I suggested to do this kind of analysis to analyze the connections. I'm talking about the nodes or the joints to analyze the connections. However, the budget and time to do this actually was not agreed upon with the designer. He's going to clarify, and it's going to be FIG. And what tell me in a little bit just about the time frame that you indicated. What was the time frame in order to conduct? And he says 7 weeks. Okay, I'm going to ask you about the sequence construction that is shown in the design plans. Did you review the structure in terms of the sequence of constructions? Right here. Very important. Or did you just review the entire structure as one structure? Answer. My model was a structure as one structure. So you can see right there, there's a major issue right there. So for clarity further down, I understand. So your analysis was the entire structure. Question. Answer, yes. Question, and did not include the breakdown of the different stages of construction. Answer, yes. It did not include that. Question, okay, I just had a follow-up question on the independent review. According to Florida DOTS, and then you're going to get onto him about whether he's even qualified to be a Type 2 bridge inspector. So here's jumping forward. I made sure they had my comments, that my comments were addressed, and then I issued the certificate on the plans, is what he's stating. After that, I did not have any role in the project. So I love this question because I say this, that they had the post-tensioning not completed. And it says, okay, you mentioned you did, okay, let's read this part. You model the post-tensioning. Does ADINA have a model that takes into account time-dependent effects of post-tensioning, or was the post-tensioning applied to the model as an independent element? Answer, it was applied to the model as an element directly at the location where the concrete element is located. That the concrete element would be modeled by the beam element. The post-tensioning would be modeled by the truss element. And we apply as I don't want to bore you guys with that. Let me stop that. it's interesting to me. But basically, they did the entire structure again. This is what it's saying. But the the questioner is saying that, look, you had some delay between this post tensioning, but your model didn't represent the real actual field, the field installation. So you guys, I guess this guy must have watched my video, or we think alike, because we talked about this. You remember this when I talked about the time delay? But here's the way he says, where the time dependent effects taken into account. If the each post tensioning tendon was stressed at a different point in time with different concrete strengths and material properties at that point in time, temperature, heat, they're doing 2 days later, I talked about, a week later, I'm all confused when they're doing this post tensioning. Were those effects captured in an Adena model? Because you're putting loads on this concrete, then you're going to add another load, compounding the first one. It's got a stress in it already, and you're adding another stress days later under different conditions. Now it's expanded, maybe it's cooler that day, maybe it's contracted, vice versa. Those are not an answer. Those were not basically accounted for. As simple as that. Question: did you ever have to reconcile your force effects from your model with the force effects from the FIG model? Answer: yes. We use basically to check. I use, like, during the analysis, my analysis would show like something that makes me, for example, need to answer a question. This guy does more likes than I do wows, right? So anyway, or do I do rights? I forget which one I do. Anyway, this is interesting. And right, so like one time I had a question about an element that's experienced, for example, an indiscernible moment. And I called them and I said, I see this. Are you seeing this in your model? They got their model. They looked at it and they said, yes, that was blank. We are seeing this. And accordingly, they decided actually to introduce a pin in this element to stop it from this moment. Interesting. Very interesting to address it. So that example basically reconciles with FIG. Let me continue. Very interesting. He asked a question about his model, the questioner. Okay, did your model use rigid links at the nodal zones? And the answer is no. He says, excuse me? No. Answer is no. Question: no. Question: that's a question about no. So you assumed every element was connected at the junction of the diagonal and upper and lower chord. Answer: yes. Center line to center line. Question: yeah, I got it. I'd like to go back on your comment that you said you made to FIG during the independent review. Were there any comments that you had that you thought were more significant? Answer: yes. Question: that required a configuration, let's say, or a yes. This is weird. Question: different way of designing. Answer: yes. I mentioned that one of the elements, actually I noticed that the bending moment is basically high. So I discussed this with them and they agreed to my recommend. And they mentioned that they had to modify the design in order to get rid of that high moment actually. So they provided a pin to the element. Question: was this the link? Was this the hinge at the, was this the reason they had the hinge at the vertical number 1? Answer: yes. Basically, it is the vertical number 1. Question: so this is the forensic hinge, whatever, guy's name, and I forgot the name of it, but decal. Yeah. Answer: yes. Were there any other significant comments that you recall? I don't recall right now, actually, but all right, okay. Yeah. Okay, let me pause this and go back to reading it, and I'll get back to you if anything. So I'm going to read you this part. It's kind of important here. So first I ran the analysis. It's about members 2 and 11. As you know, I have a model. My model was basically considered the structure when it was finished, when it is completed. That means the full thing. And so basically the designer, he provided a table for post-tensioning for all the members, including member diagonal number 2 and diagonal number 11, okay? So first I ran my analysis with these members, and I put the post-tensioning there. So right now, but his drawing stated that it would be removed after post-tensioning. So how could he, well, I guess that drawing we didn't see if he had that statement there, but he dropped the ball then. In the final configuration of the structure, I found huge forces, huge compression forces in these elements, number 2 and 11. So I talked to the designer, and the designer explained to me that the post-tensioning would be put only for the transportation stages when the structure was going to be placed on the transporter. Because when the transporter, the structure under it did move, there would be 2 panels would be cantilevered. And these cantilevered panels will create some kind of tension in the members 2 and 11. So to stop that tension, if you didn't have the post-tensioning in 2 and 11, as they went down the road, it would be flopping. The overhangs, right? That triangle would flop. And to stop that flopping action, if you will, 2 and 11 had bars put in them to make it rigid during transportation. Okay, that's what I'm helping you guys understand that. And it says, right after the structure would be placed over the pier, this tension would disappear actually, or the load path was going to change, and the tension is going to be changed to compression. And the tension is going to be changed to compression. All right. So basically, I asked if there were notes on this, and they put a note for this that members diagnosed 211 will be positioned, post-tensioned, but right after the structure gets placed in position over the pier, the post-tensioning should be destroyed, should be detensioned. And this, in my opinion, should be done immediately, of course. So in my analysis, I considered that these 2 elements, without post-tensioning, I removed the post-tensioning, that's in his analysis. My analysis basically showed reasonable values for the compression in these elements. And this, I considered that this is basically a very, very significant comment. Okay, so that's what he's... Okay, important statement here. During my independent review, nothing came to my attention about Florida FDOT. So Florida, during his independent review, nothing came directly to him. Moving on. And now you see the price. He said 50,000. Answer 60, 61. Question 60,000. Answer right. 61,000, 60,000, 61,000 approximately. That's what the cost was for the independent review. Okay. So his lead design team you need is 2 persons. Manuel, that's the one who said that the deflection was okay. Was expected, was whatever. Deflection. This is him asking, answering the question. This engineer was creating the design technically. The engineer who was creating the design technically, and this is the person that I used to resolve with any technical issues. And there is another, okay, called Dwight Dempsey. He was kind of administrative. He was not that involved in technical issue. Okay, and Manuel's last name again? I don't remember his last name, actually, but we cannot provide it, okay? But we can provide, okay? Okay, right. So Manuel and Dwight Dempsey. But Fig showed up at that meeting, if you call, and did his big name, and now I got trampled. That's the end of this. So now this is that report, and I'll give you the link to this. Hopefully I'll be able to give you the link. It's let me see if I can pull it down for you. You can just look it up. There's the link right there. You can pause the screen and try that if I can't find it, because I have to go back and it's pretty difficult to find this stuff. Take care, guys. This will be the Berger comments, and we'll take it on data.